Hi guys, and welcome to Inside the Photographer's Studio. Today we're here with Australia's top sports photographer, Carr.
Delhi is a world-renowned sports shooter and he's an official Nikon ambassador, and he is only Australian photographer inducted as a member to the Elite World Photography Academy. He's won too many awards to mention, including the best shot at the Sydney 2000 Olympics. He's accredited to shoot almost every major sporting event, including 2000, 2004, 8 and 12 Olympic Games. Over his 25-year career, Delhi has forged a reputation as an ethical, fun, friendly and expert in the field of sports photography. It's truly an honour to speak with Delhi in this, our inaugural episode.
So, thanks for being with us, Delhi. I'm sure all the guys at home are really excited to hear your thoughts on such a long and illustrious career in sports photography.
Thank you.
So tell us, how did it all get started? When did you fall in love with photography?
Okay, I'm now going back to when I was a teenager, and I used to play a lot of rugby. I grew up in the old Mascot area with the South Sydney Rabbits, and we all played rugby league, and sadly the dentist told me I had to wear teeth braces and for a couple of years, which meant no contact sports. So in order for me to be with all my rugby friends, I conned the school headmaster for me to take photos of them, and that way I stayed there and so forth. And I was the popular kid in school. Everyone was buying my prints for 5 cents each at the time, and it was in the school newsletters and such, and that's my whole world.
Okay,
Yeah.
So how old were you then, sorry?
Well, it would have been, 11, 12 years old at the time.
Okay, so you were already into photography at that age?
Yeah, I was. I can distinctly remember Dad giving me, a lot younger than that too, a Diana F camera, which is now the trendy camera, which is kind of funny.
Okay.
And I still have it, and
I didn't realise they had been around that long.
they have, and I would have been 7, so we're talking 40 odd years ago now.
Wow. Okay.
But then it came to me only a little while ago that I do remember, and I wish I still had them. I had scrapbooks, and I used to cut out pictures I used to love, and they're all sports pictures. A lot of them was rugby league. But from then I used to adore pictures, and I was always cutting them out and sticking them in scrapbooks.
Okay. Yeah.
So, right. It was always there. I guess the fact that I had to get my teeth straightened probably brought it out a little bit.
So now you're a great photographer and you've got a lovely smile.
Exactly, my teeth are straight. So
developing from there, did you take any formal training, or did you do an apprenticeship, or you just kept developing on your own?
I'm not a typical tale. I had migrant parents, obviously, and they were the ones that they worked 2 jobs and everything else. So they didn't want their son to do that, and they made me study hard. And I actually went to uni, did an economics degree, majored in marketing.
So did I.
Okay, nice. Well, there you go. And worked with a suit and tie in a corporate car in an office, and then for 6 or 7 years. I was never happy then, and I would always shoot sport on weekends. And it was the recession before this last recession that my company at the time, which was a life insurance company, said, "Does anyone want to leave? We've got some nice packages." And I put my hand up straight away and left.
Okay.
So I did a little travel just to get it out of my system, and then decided to use that money to give me a year or 2 of trying out this new business of becoming a sports photographer.
Okay, so what commercially were you doing before that? Had you been selling much, or, I mean, that's a big leap of faith, you know. There's a lot of viewers write to me that they're in exactly that position. They're keen and they're experienced, but they just don't have the guts to jump, basically.
No, it was a big leap of faith. I knew I had my marketing skills, and you would know that you got to be part photographer, part businessman, part of everything. You're the accountant, you're also the guy who cleans the garbage in your office, you do all the jobs. I had a little bit of that in me, so I knew that. I went in, basically I wanted to be a sports photographer, and at that time it was a healthy stock market. Magazines were buying Best Shot 1, etc., etc. So there was a healthy market then. First year I did okay, believe it or not, and maybe new kid on the block. The second year I starved, and it was Vegemite sandwiches for dinner and a few other things. So I never did any formal training. It was just, I learned by my mistakes in the School of Hard Knocks and all that. We got the Olympic Games 7 years prior to it happening, so 93?
Okay, so when did you?
I
go
took
full-time?
my leap of faith around the late 80s, so
Okay.
89-ish.
Okay, so then you had 9 years to prepare for the Olympics.
Yeah, but as soon as they announced the Olympics, there was so much sports work.
Ah, right, because the focus was on.
All about sport. It was
Yeah.
all about sport, and companies, all the banks were sponsoring teams and
Yeah.
players, and so there was a lot of sports work. And the year or two before the Olympics made an obscene amount of money. It's quite funny. Again, all stock related. And there were sports magazines, like 2 or 3 magazines per sport. It had gone a little bit silly.
Yeah.
In saying that too, after the Olympics, no one was interested in sport. The magazines all fell over. The corporations didn't want to spend the money on it, and I starved. And so it all balanced in the
I
end.
hope you're a good saver.
I've learned to do that. You've learned to do
So
that.
what sort of, throughout, I guess it's fluctuated, but what sort of mix of your business comes from regular sales of stock as opposed to commission work or, going to do a job this weekend for a paycheck?
Yeah, let's say prior to digital,
Mm-hmm.
this would be an interesting thing, but prior to digital, 90% was stock.
Okay.
Stock sales. So I had to think ahead. I had to think of what sells, what doesn't sell. Anna Kournikova in her heyday was every man and his dog in every fashion magazine and every sports magazine, and men's magazines wanted pictures of
I
her.
see her. Yeah. So that was a shot that Adidas actually bought as a promo picture?
Yeah, but at that time, again, I was working for Adidas, so
Okay.
I had great access to some wonderful athletes because Adidas had everyone sponsored at that time.
Mm-hmm. So how much of what you do then or now is going out and shooting an actual match or that kind of thing where you're being commissioned to do, it's basically a portrait, an environmental portrait?
Yeah, now I'm 100% I'm being paid to be there.
Okay, but so is it mainly in the event or like that shot of Anna, was she just training and you're asking her to be in a certain part of the
Correct.
court?
The Adidas job, for argument's sake, was there was usually a general press call and everyone would do their things with her and she would pose, she would do everything, and then Adidas would pull the pin and I would be left with her or whatever athlete for an hour or so to do certain things. And they were PR shots, nothing outrageous. But and that's my world now. It's 99% of it is I'm being paid to be at an event or to shoot an athlete or shoot for sponsorship, whatever the case may be. I still will get the odd phone call, do you have a shot of so-and-so or whatever. And now it's so much easier with digital, to offload and send that picture.
Yeah.
We were talking transparency then.
Yeah, right.
In those days, and that one shot you had was the one. If it was with someone else, no one else could get it.
Yeah, right.
It's a different world.
So, that's the dream situation for a sports photographer, to be paid to go to the event. A lot of people, I'm sure, start out going, saying, give me exclusive rights or, let me be there with the hope of selling things. Any advice on, is that how you started out?
No, that's exactly what I did. Admittedly, the people's attitudes, or the sports organisations' attitudes have changed a little, and they're now talking about intellectual property, and the jersey that you photograph, the St George team or the Richmond football team,
Right.
they're now copyright. So, yeah.
I had never even thought of it.
It is. It's all intellectual property now, and even the sport, when they run a series, for example, the Big Bash League is an intellectual property. So you're taking photographs of their product. Now, it's harder for someone who's starting out to get into these events. The only way you can is you're working for a particular client that's of value to them.
So Joe Blow, who's watching this right now, loves going and shooting weekends. Is that really what they need to do? Keep shooting and get a great portfolio?
Of course.
Or?
I am surprised a lot of the emails that I get in the requests to say, what do I do? And have you got a website, show me your pictures? And they don't. Right? And that's your big failing. Yes, there are difficulties in getting into the rugby league or to the cricket, the big time sports.
Yep.
You've got to work your way up, and that's there. But I was at Narrabeen Beach on the weekend. There was a surfboat carnival, and if there'd been great big waves, then imagine the pictures. I went there just for the fun of it. Okay, there are things that you can get to. You can go to a rodeo, and if you have to pay $20 to get in there, just go and sit next to the fence and take pictures.
You don't have to worry about R.M. Williams
No,
or anything in the shot.
There's things. There are things that you can go to. Surfing contest. There's a surfing contest coming up in Manly.
Yep.
There are things you can do, and it doesn't have to be the A grade sports, or go outside the square and think of a picture you always wanted to do. Find an athlete that will do it for you. Okay, so, but you know, I am surprised and a little disappointed how many people just haven't got a portfolio together before they start going into this world.
Sure.
With this online world, people want to see your portfolio on their computer.
Yeah.
So without that, no one's going to hire you.
So you said your first ever camera was a Diana F. When you were going through, what were you shooting? Were you obviously you started on 35mm film.
Yeah.
How's that evolved?
It evolved. Well, the brand went to Nikon, but it was Minolta at the time.
Yeah,
it was
Minolta.
They were a big camera then, and so forth. So it was Minolta. Then film went to transparency because of the pure quality of transparency. I would be then pushed to film if I needed some low light capabilities, and it's quite funny now when I look at what low light meant. There was 800 ASA or whatever with the cameras now. It's unheard of. Then my jump from when I really wanted to take this seriously, I went to Nikon. And it's not because I'm a Nikon ambassador I'm saying that. It always felt good in my hand for some reason. I went Nikon. Nikon fell behind in the 90s, in the early 2000s, and Canon, 9 out of 10 cameras at a sporting event was Canon. And I seemed, being a freelancer, just couldn't really afford to complete, just at a whim. So I stayed with Nikon, and now they're just smashing Canon out of the park with what they're bringing out. So, very blessed that I'm now with the leader and so forth. But there was a point there where, wow, they were a little bit behind, but they caught up.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's always Minolta. I've still got Minolta. I've still got all my cameras. I've still got a little Diana F.
Did you shoot with any? So you did shoot with Nikon film as well? What were you shooting with?
Yeah, it was film. Yeah, it was film. So
which body was that?
I started with the F3. That's when I came in. So I had the 4 and the 5. Then I didn't go D1, but I went to D100 because their amateur. Well, I thought, and a few others did. Their amateur camera was probably better than their pro camera. Okay. But come to D2, and then that had taken what I thought was good things out of the D100. So it was. But I did hold on to film transparency as long as I could. So I loved it and I knew it so well, and a lot of people knew that as my strength. I didn't need a light meter. I could tell what the light readings were at one point. I've lost all that now because I'm in the well,
to an extent. Well, I guess it's less of an issue. Is it ISO 800? Or
I agree. It's less of an issue now. It's a lot less, but I could tell, and I knew how each different brand of transparency worked and how it looked. So I was blessed, and I hung on, but my clients were asking for me to move on in certain ways. That they wanted pictures, and they wanted pictures now. I went reluctantly.
Okay, so Diana F, Minolta, then up through the F cameras in film, and then so you've gone all the way through with digital. Have you had a chance to get a hands-on with the D4 or D800 that's just been announced?
I've been very lucky. The D800 was announced today. But being an ambassador, and they wanted us to look at the cameras and see what they're in the right path, and they are. I got it a few weeks ago, the D4, that's more my camera. The D800, it's going to end up being a landscape portrait fashion one with the squillion megapixels that it is. Mine's the workhorse, the D4, and I've played with it, and I loved my D3S. I thought, for once now I've got a camera that I truly love. It extended my years in photography. It actually has, because of its capability, especially with low light. I'm shooting in stadiums. Whilst they're up there now because of TV, I still need it. The D4, one thing I noticed very quickly is the screen at the back.
Okay, it's not too much bigger, is it? But the quality.
No, the quality. When I did do my test, I was out in the middle of a beach, 12ish, 1 o'clock during the day. Full sun, and I could see it. And with my eyes getting a little bit older, for once I wasn't having to squint over it, and I could see it.
That's a big thing.
It's a big thing. Number 2, the image quality. I'm getting files out of there which I don't have to do a lot of Photoshop afterwards. I'm a sports photographer. I don't need to touch them up. Brightness, darkness, a little bit of contrast. But right now I'm getting images out of there that I don't have to do much to them, and the skin tones I'm looking at, they're pretty close.
So the majority of your work would be for newspapers, that kind of thing, I assume, and then some stuff for promotions.
Yeah.
But is megapixels a big deal for you? Is the 12 to 16 make much of a difference to you?
No, I now have the luxury of a little bit of a crop, but that's never been my priority from day one. I've always tried to shoot it in the frame. That's one of the things I learned, not early, but I was told very early. I learned that I try and shoot it then and there. And some people look at it and go, "Why are you using such a big lens?" Because I don't want to crop it. So I've got a little bit of a luxury with that. 12, all my clients, my editorial clients, are happy with 12.
Yep.
16 will be a little bit of a bonus.
Have you noticed much of a difference between the D3S and the D4 in terms of the tracking abilities?
Yes, that was another thing I was going to bring up. If I'm going to shoot a big quick burst, let's say with the old D3S, maybe that first frame.
Funny to hear you say the old
I know,
D3S.
and I still.
For us who are hungry to hold the D4.
The D4's, I know. Isn't that funny? It's like I'm already moving on to the next camera. It's almost in my hands as well. With the D3S, the first frame might have been like 90% because it was on its way there. Because I have to move quick, I have to react quickly. Then from then on, bang bang. Maybe the odd one in that sequence was out.
Sure.
I did Surf Life Saving, or the Surf Iron Man, and it was hitting him from the very first frame.
Nice.
And following them along the waves as they're coming at me. So those sequence of 7 or 8, 9, 10, they're all pinned.
Okay.
And from the first one, which 9 times out of 10 in sport is probably the one that you wanted because it reacted.
Yeah. So, something happened.
Exactly.
So when I heard that it had face recognition at first, I thought that's ridiculous for a professional camera, but for tracking, that must be brilliant.
Yeah. And again, I'm a bit naive. I didn't know it was on when I was doing the surf, and then I noticed that it was replaying it back with the face recognition. I went, oh my God, it's moved all the way as the athlete slid down a wave or whatever. So it actually worked. And I didn't know I had it on, which, because I'd only just got it in my hands.
Yeah, right.
And like a little boy in a toy shop, I grabbed it and played with it straight away without reading it.
Yeah, of course. Well, who reads the manual?
Oh, I read the manual. One day I'll find out what it really does.
Did you get a chance to take some frames with the D800?
We did the other day. We, as ambassadors, were told about it was launched today. We were told a week ago, and we managed to play with it and look at them properly and so forth. And that's a beautiful camera. And they're going to price it at such an affordable price, I've been told.
Okay.
Excellent. So they have, and they told us the whole marketing behind it and everything, that they've really gone to a lot of effort to distinguish both cameras.
Clearly.
One is one and one is the other.
Yeah.
That's where it's going to be.
Would you ever use something like that?
I will have it as,
like
yes.
PR
I have
shots?
a lot of PR stuff to do with it. At a sporting event where I have to, I don't know, but there are times where I just have to shoot the athlete or a promo or whatever, and that's when I use it. And I do have the instance where my images are going to be used big, and I've been told I'll go to that one.
Okay.
And sacrifice that little bit of speed. But the other guys like David Oliver and Christian Blanchard, they were looking at it, and for their work they were so keen.
Yeah, great.
So keen.
Okay. Well, by the time I get to speak to them, they probably will have one.
Probably
so.
I'm not sure when they're going to end up in.
Oh, it's actually March, isn't it? It's coming out.
Something
so
they
who
said,
knows?
yeah.
For us plebs.
Fingers crossed.
Let's have a look. So on your, just pause, I always do that and move too quick and then that's in the shot. So on your way developing, did you undertake personal projects to help, with your learning and development?
Yeah, this has happened, it's a recent phenomenon. It was all about work for a while then. I did come back from an Olympics absolutely fried. It was the Athens one. So that's now 8 years ago. And I didn't want to pick up a camera. I didn't want to see another sportsman again. And I thought I got myself fit for that one, but mentally and physically I was exhausted. And I did take 2 or 3 months off. Then I decided to do a few projects so that I wanted to know whether I was just physically tired and it was sport that was doing my head in, or was it photography? And I found out straight away it was sport. It was just, I didn't want to see another sportsman again or another sport. So I make it an issue or a thing that every year I do personal projects.
Okay.
I have had a long one now for 8 years doing pop culture.
Okay.
That's way, and I picked something way away from sport, but now I do pick one sporting event a year that has always been on my bucket list, or will be so beautiful to photograph that I'm going to it and do it without a client in mind. I'm paying my own way, back to how it was when I first started.
Oh, great. Have you got something chosen for this year?
This year I do. The name of it, let me think. Might have to start again. What's the correct word?
So, do you have one chosen for this year?
Yeah, I do. And believe it or not, I'm leaving the Olympics 2 or 3 days early just to get to it. It's near Salt Lake City. It's the big Salt Lakes where they do land speed records and cars, and it's a speed week. I'm not actually sure of the full name.
Yeah, it's where that movie, the
World's
Indian
Fastest Indian, whatever.
Okay,
Same. So there's all these different classes. There's bikes, there's drag cars, there's missile-looking cars, but it's a week of Salt Lake, beautiful, amazing. Sorry?
You'll need your tracking.
I know, but I've looked at it very closely, and it's funny cars and crusty cars, and there's fast women, and then there's crusty old men that drive these cars, and you've got a barren landscape of just white.
So are you interested in the cars or the characters?
I think it'll be more the characters and what it's about, but I've seen some of the cars and they're out there. So it's a bit of Americana, it's a bit of car racing, it's a beautiful landscape. Always wanted to go. I'm booked.
You better make a doco for Nikon too, that could be a brilliant...
Well, that's part of it.
A great story.
It will make a great story, and I've already seen pictures in my head that are either black and white or because of the colour, but I've also looked at it, and I'm not a big photography geek, but there's so much light coming back up from the salt, and everything looks crisp and clean and pretty.
You got a kicker everywhere.
It is, I don't know. Last year was the running of the bulls in Spain, and again, one thing I've always wanted to do, there's only one picture I've always had in mind, and I was accredited for 4 days. It's 8 days of bull runs, and for 4 days I went to that one spot to get my picture. And
you got it?
I got it in the end, yeah.
What was it?
Well, I got the picture, a picture I love and adore, and a lot of people do. It was the picture I had in mind, but I was very lucky. It's around a bend and it's a cobblestone street, but one of the bulls lifted quite high. He obviously didn't take the turn well. By doing that, I've now got hoofs in the picture and a bit of the bull, but I have all the terrified runners in the frame.
Yeah.
Because I realised, despite me lying on the floor, all my other pictures, the tummy of the bull would cut off the heads of the runners. You couldn't see them. You could see feet. So I've always wanted it. I've got my picture now.
So if the shot you had in your mind was like the bull is a limp above their head, kind of?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, and terrified runners and that. It doesn't quite happen that way. That the seas part quite early. So, but in this instance, I've got a bull with all feet up in the air. He's taken them, but I can see people and you can see their terrified face.
Yeah, great.
So yeah, I was very lucky. I'll go again because it's a wonderful festival, but it's not now my photographic thought. One day I'll go to Tour de France and shoot that classic, the sunflowers and the cyclists in France, and that's the picture I've had in my head for a long time. So one project a year.
That's excellent. It's good that you still find time, but there's a lot of working pros who there's just no time.
Well, I have made an effort to make time in this instance, and this is going to sound funny for a lot of people, but I'm leaving the Olympics early. You know, I'm leaving I think 3 or 4 days. My other work is all done.
Yeah.
So I'm leaving, and that's going to sound quite strange to people whose dream is to be at an Olympics. But I've always wanted to shoot this other thing.
That actually leads on to a question I had for you. So a lot of the sports you shoot, you've shot them so many times, you know the sport inside out. I mean, I'm sure you could commentate a lot of them. But if you're going into a sport or an arena or something for the first time, like your shot with the bull, where you've got pre-visualized a shot, how do you go about, working out, you may have you're allowed to stand here as a photographer, but if you've got free run of the place, how do you go about, working out where the shots are going to be? Because, it's all whatever lighting is there, right?
Yeah, it's trial and error. A lot of it is trial and error, but you try to use some judgment. My classic case, and I learned a lot from this one. I was blessed to go to the Football World Cup in Germany, in Australia. That was the first one Australia was in for quite a while. The very first game I went with a light. I said, I'll have the light at my back so I had nice, crisp, clean colours. And we scored 3 goals that day. But each time all I got was the Australian celebrating but running away from me. All I got was his back. No jubilation. And I was disappointed. Whilst I was at a wonderful event, I was disappointed looking at my pictures, and it took me a couple of days to work it out. He kept running towards the soccer bench to all his mates to celebrate, and I was on the opposite side of the field. So he never ran at me, there was no point. He ran at the crowd, the Australians that were there, and he ran at his bench. Bang, I just learned something brand new. I didn't need the light for the picture I wanted. You've just got to use some brains, you're going to make mistakes, etc., etc. Yes, sometimes you look at what other guys are doing, but get there early and look at it and look what, and again, pre-visualize what you want. A lot of my work now is pre-visualizing, thinking what's a nice picture. Try and make it a nice picture. Success in this business in photography, and you're going to have a good product coming out of your camera.
Yeah.
Your camera's your tool, but what's coming out of it. You know.
Speaking of coming out of, have you tested out the new wireless module they've got? Do you think that's going to be a big part of your workflow?
It can be. I haven't tested it, no, to be honest. But
do you use
there is a place for it.
Now?
Sorry?
Do you use that sort of technology now? Or?
No, but it could be, for me, I'm not very good technologically, and I'm sorry. But in saying that, it could be a value-added service that could do things for me. But it sounds insane that I can be shooting in London and I can have an assistant here looking at the pictures.
As you shoot.
As I shoot them, and I don't even get to see them. It's kind of weird. But it's a value-added thing that I can add onto my work. I'll have to learn up on it, obviously, but you can offer it to someone, and if they don't take it, well, you look good by having that service.
Sure.
And that's just the value add, and that's how I've got to look at it.
Yeah.
Probably my world, because of the clientele, don't need pictures that quickly.
Yeah.
How quick do you want them? But a lot of my work after an event will be updating Facebook pages with some photos, or updating their own.
Your client?
Yes, of my clients. Yes.
Great. Okay.